Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Cybersecurity Data Fabric. We are delighted to have you all with us today for what promises to be an informative and engaging session. In an era where data is the new currency and cybersecurity threats are becoming increasingly sophisticated, understanding how to effectively manage, secure, and utilize data has never been more critical. Today's webinar is designed to explore the innovative concept of data fabric and its transformative impact on cybersecurity. We will delve into the architecture and components of a data fabric, its role in enhancing security posture, and how it can be leveraged to ensure data integrity, privacy, and compliance. Our expert speaker will share insights, best practices, and real world examples to help you navigate the complexities of cybersecurity in the age of big data and the future of unified digital defense. Without further ado, let's dive in. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Mr. Taha Sajid. Taha is a seasoned lead solution architect and security lead with extensive experience in guiding startups and major enterprises like Huawei, Comcast, and Ufone. He specializes in developing emerging tech solutions, achieving compliance, and enhancing network security. As the author of the best selling Ultimate Blockchain Security Handbook, he shares strategies for securing blockchain applications and mitigating crypto scams. He has also created highly rated online courses on cybersecurity for telecom, blockchain, DeFi, and fintech. Founder of Security Pulse, he empowers organizations to stay informed on technological advancements. His accolades include recognition in Marcus Who's Who, the Einstein Visa for Extraordinary Ability, and being named a Microsoft MVP and global thought leader in 5G, blockchain, and cybersecurity. Thank you for joining us. Handing over to you, Taha. Taha, we cannot hear you.
Sorry. Thank you, Rabia, for pointing out. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Rabia, for the lovely introduction. I'll do a backtrack. And thank you, everyone, for coming into this webinar. I'm delighted to be presenting myself. So, in today, what we're going to talk about is about data fabric. What is data fabric? Why do we use it? How organizations can take value out of this? What are the consumer benefits? Practical challenges and workarounds, how you can actually integrate the data fabric into your security pipelines, some learning and emerging companies who are working on this space, and then we will discuss some of the conclusive steps that you can take. So to start off, we need to understand what cybersecurity data fabric is. So to start off, I'll just quickly go through the definitions first to make you to give you some concept. So think about when you are entering a SOC room. You see some dashboards which are giving some insights of your how your different tools and your applications are behaving from the security standpoint. And then there is a CISO or a security manager who comes in and ask his teams to, hey, we have a security incident, and all of a sudden there is a panic happens inside the room, and there is escalations going on back and forth, and we end up trying to triage that incident from different angles, and we spend time on it, and maybe in some cases we do good, and in some cases we struggle to come up with some root cause analysis. The reason behind in all this thing is we don't have we are lacking on some of the main 2 3 points. One is that the data sources what we are having, which is giving the data towards the backend platforms, are not giving the accurate data, or we are missing some of the important data sources. That is one. Secondly, the data which gets normalized and ingested into the same platform is not normalized to an extent which can give meaningful insights. And thirdly, there are missing. We miss this, like, the threat landscape in general, which do not give us that holistic view which will help us to triage those incidents. So there are different reasons, but mainly the reason why we use data fabric is to make sure that we are getting the ingest from all the sources into the current into the correct data format, the data structure, and then to be able to dig down and ingest those data feeds and get some meaningful insights from that solution is what value data fabric brings to the table. So here in this picture you can think of like different sources which is feeding the data into your engine, which is your encryption firewall or your access control. And then when the data get normalized, uh, uh, you know structured, we add enrichment to that data, then your security team will be able to consume that data better and have better sense to what's going on. It's from the security standpoint. So this is what uh, cybersecurity data fabric is, and it's, as its metaphor highlights, its ability to weave together different diverse data sources and ensuring seamless integration and enhanced security. So at the end of a day, if I am a CISO and a security team, I would like to have some intelligence behind my data so I can take the actions which are required from me. So this is what data fabric brings to the table. Now, the important point now from here is to understand some of the use cases. So when I explain use cases, uh, I will give you a sample scenario. So think about, you are in a healthcare sector. you know you are using different firewalls, different security controls to protect your hospital or your uh, healthcare practitioner from any malware or from any malicious attack. Okay, and as you are using different security firewalls or different security solutions, you may have some sort of you may end up having some sort of compliance issues regarding HIPAA compliance, which restricts you to share personal information of your patients. And you don't know whether those IDS or whether your IPS or the SIEM platforms are filtering those private information. So you don't have to use all those security and end up facing compliance issues. So with this data fabric solution, you will be able to filter those fields out, that hey, I don't need personal information of the patients, yet I need to know exactly where my attacks are coming from and how I can prevent those attacks. So this is one of the use case in which having a data fabric solution in your enterprise, in your industry, in your organization will help you in trying to meet regulatory compliances as well, apart from the security that it brings to the table. The other use case, like for example, you are having a 5G network where you are having where you are getting the data from different multiple sources, from your control plane, user plane components, from your CRM platforms, different platforms. Then those are going into your the backend, like the data lakes, where you can see some meaningful insights about what is happening around your network. So with this data fabric solution, you can specifically create different use cases, that hey, this type of data includes only the user logging attempts towards my application interfaces. Okay, this is something which is coming from the mobile device. This is something which is the configuration management activities on my telecom devices. So you can filter and develop multiple use cases by having a data fabric solution. uh, like, think about better utilizing your data to take some security measures on top of your architecture. Okay, this is what data fabric use cases revolves around. Okay, now moving forward, uh, just to understand why we use cybersecurity data fabric, is that there are different distributed sources of data, which is spread across different, either it's a private cloud or a public cloud. There are different environments, and it creates complexity in trying to uh, you know take risk preventive measures and quantify the risk, because you don't have the exact visibility about where the data is coming from. uh, and if you don't have the visibility, you cannot understand the impact about if there's a data breach on those data sets, what would be the impact, because you don't have the exact visibility of the entire network. So this is why we use data fabric, in order to understand what the threat landscape looks like, and in order to take better decisions on your enhancing your security posture. Then it gives you unified security, provides unified security approach with consistent policies and real-time threat detection across data touchpoints. You can uh, use the data insights coming from your fabric solution in trying to develop policies for risk management. Uh, you can exactly know where your data is being stored, so you can have different security controls like EDR, like is one of them, where you can know specifically that, hey, this is the point which is, like for example, holding my private information, and this is I need to protect. So you can have exact visibility to where you want to introduce security controls. That is something which you can have with data fabric solution. uh, the other point is, if you because what we have seen is, in a traditional network we have Splunk, which is the SIEM platform, which is taking the data from different sources, normalizing it, making sure you're getting uh, right insights, and there you generate alerts from those insights. So this is what Splunk brings to the table. But data fabric is, think of this as like a next version of Splunk, which is more intelligent in terms of data enrichment, data normalization, making sure that the data is being compressed before it gets to the Splunk platform. So there is a middle man, which comes before Splunk, which is uh, you know making data more normalized, more enriched, more filtered, more analytics going on. So think about a data lake platform which is giving the data to Splunk, so Splunk can take more better actions, and can store less data, consume less data, because of this data fabric solution. So it can both works in tandem, but just using Splunk would gives you not the real insight as what you are hoping for. Okay, so this is what the comparison I would say would look like between like existing platform that we normally uses with as compared to the data fabric solution.
I have a question here, Taha.
Yeah.
How does the cybersecurity data fabric differ from traditional theme solutions? What unique benefits do you think it offers?
Yeah. So, firstly, if you think about Rabia, Splunk usually is dependent on the Splunk agents or the add-ons which you have to give, or which you have to place on your application in order for them to give the data. Then you have to rely on some forwarders to get the data forwarded, and then there are some compressors which are compresses the data before it reaches, or until it reaches that Splunk, the main backend where you can visualize the insights. But in case of data fabric, we can have it is more standardized in terms of application feeding the data to that platform. That is one. The second difference I would say is having AI machine learning like algorithms running with it, so you can have a better sense of data about you know what is going on from the threat landscape, like whether we are having any signatures or not, of any malwares, whether we can customize the firewall rules to have better detection on threats, so we can play around with the data more when we have a data fabric solution rather than just relying on Splunk. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Okay. Moving on, we talked about what is data fabric, why we use data fabric, what value or how it differs from the traditional SIEM solution. And now just talk about as an organization what value it can give to me. Okay, so in terms of value, first value that any organization would like to see is the visibility and the control of the data. Where the data has been going, where it is being stored, what type of data I'm dealing with, whether there's any malicious attempts happening on those data sets. So that is what I want as an organization, is to have better visibility and control. Okay. The second thing whatever applications my users are going to, or my different applications. We have CRM, we have identity access management applications, we have Jira tools, we have a lot of application that we see in an enterprise. So we need something like a tool which can ingest the data from all the sources. So that is the second benefit that you can get. Third is that if you want to meet the regulatory compliance, let's say GDPR compliance, HIPAA compliance, whatever the regulatory data sets you are having, uh, you can tune your Fabric solution to understand what those compliances are, and you can have that a consolidated view with you, which will give you that, hey, whether you are meeting those compliances or not. So this is a very good point. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars just to have security enforced, but end up paying like 10x more to the regulatory fines. So this is something which you don't want. uh, uh, Lastly, but like not the least, it can save a lot of like complexity issues for you. It can save the Splunk cost for you that you'll be paying with the Splunk software, by reducing the volume of the data. So that it will not it will not only just help the organization save cost, but also give more color to the data handling procedures, to make sure that you are taking the right security posture in your organization. Okay, this is just an
So I have a
yeah.
question, Taha. Excuse me.
Hmm. Hmm.
How can organizations measure the ROI of implementing the cybersecurity data fabric solution?
That's a very interesting point and a very good question. So we normally, when we, as a security organization, there are some KPIs that we use, or that we use to uh, develop our strategy, and to make sure that we are having enough funding, and we are meeting all our objectives. One is the, like, two main KPIs are the mean time to detect an incident, and mean time to resolve an incident. So those are the two main KPIs. If, for example, if in your organization, if you, with a traditional SIEM or a security solution, if you are having, if you take the average about, hey, when you are with the current tools what we are having, when you can be able to detect those incidents, and how sooner you will be able to resolve those incidents. So this will give you an indication that with having a data fabric solution, if you can calculate those two KPIs, that you will understand the value that it brings to the table, as compared to the traditional SIEM solution. The second part is how much uh, cost that you are spending on your security solutions, as compared to once you have data fabric, whereas before you have data fabric. So you can compare the delta on both of these on both of those cases, and this will give you a good indication to whether you are getting the ROI as you what you are hoping for. And thirdly is about of understanding the complexities, I would say, because usually the security teams who are working on the data, uh, whether from the design perspective or from threat modeling or in security operations, you usually uh, think about a skill set, because like normally you have to hire different resources, you have to upskill, you have to go through different trainings to make sure that your team are equipped to deal with any security threats. But with having data fabric solution, you have to spend less on those skills, because you are having good insights about, and your the work that your team's supposed to do, the solution is already doing it for you, in terms of doing some triage, doing some analysis, and making sure that you are getting the real insight. So this is what it can bring to the table. So if you think that you need to train less resources by having data fabric solution, it means that you are going in the right direction. So these are some of the some of the ROIs indicators, I would say, that the organization can use is to check that whether like they are meeting the objectives or not, having a data fabric solution. Yeah. Does it make sense, Rabia?
Thank you, Taha. Yeah, yeah, definitely it does.
Okay. Moving forward, so we talked about cost, we talked about data management, that what it can bring to the table. So I'll not go more into like detail, but just I'll touch one point here. So in the practical challenges and workarounds, so overcoming implementation hurdles. So like think about a moment that you're not having a data fabric solution. Now, if you want to store a large amount of data in your organization, like think about data is coming from different sources, the logging data, your application data, your trace, your call flows, your debugging data, your configuration management. So there is a huge amount of data that you'll get as part of your architecture uh, and your use cases. Now, if you want to store that data either in the cloud platform or in Splunk or in any other data lake sources, you have to spend something on that data, and as the data increases, you have to spend more on that in order to secure and save that data. The workaround that we normally see is that we compress that data, we you know uh, procure some SSDs, and then use external storage to save those data sets, but we have to end up managing those SSDs and some external storage options. But with the data fabric solution, you don't have to rely on some external storage. You will get data storage, data normalization, data, all those options with you with this solution. So this will save you significant cost if you are thinking from the budget perspective, that that hey, what ROI I'm getting, like, for having a data fabric solution. So this would save you cost. So this is an important element to consider. Okay, moving on. Now we talked about different functions, about you know why, what data fabric is, why do we need to have data fabric, what value it brings to the table. But from the technical standpoint, okay, how should I integrate a data fabric into my security map? This is the second question that my technical leads or the architecture needs to be or will be asking. That hey, I don't want a business presentation and a sales pitch to use of using a data fabric solution. I understand the value, but how should I do this work? How should I integrate my data fabric into my security pipeline? So you have to understand the different tasks that are involved, because you, with this understanding, you will be able to understand that where my team stands, what resources I need. Maybe do I need to procure this solution and give this solution to an external vendor, or maybe we need to do something in house. So this is will give you a good indication to where you stand. Okay, firstly, assess current infrastructure, study the architecture, study the requirements, how your data is flowing across different components, what the architecture looks like. Then define integration goals, that what do you want to achieve, what is your ROI, what is the KPIs that you need to protect, to save, how will you measure this, how will you, what is your existing application looks like. So set some integration goals. Then select a data fabric solution, you know and how to choose a best solution, it depends on various criterias. It has to be scalable, it has to be integrated with your all your applications, it has to support those protocols, those standards, it has to have real-time processing, uh, check the governance model. So this is something which you can think of your criteria in order to select different platforms. So we have different platforms available, all the way from the emerging players to the players which are already there, like in the market for so long. So you have to first define your criteria about how you can choose the data fabric solution. Then fourth part is data ingestion and normalization part. So every solution has its own set of parameters about how they ingest the data, how they normalize the data. So check the data connectors, what are the feeds that we need to install on the applications, how you will get the data from the applications towards your backend, whether they support any plugins or not, what installations I need to do on my operating system. So think about all those things. Then use an ETL, transform, extract, transform, load. Uh, Using the correct ETL will make sure that you are saving a lot of cost as well as bringing efficiency to your platform. Apache Kafka, AWS Kinesis, for real time or batch processing for less sensitive data. So think about all those services in place in order to use the right real time processing agents. Then data model, you have to understand the data model for your security data based on the sticks and the taxi for threat intelligence, that what your data model should looks like. So this is also an important thing. Then you have to understand that hey, when you have the data ingestion and normalization, component figured out, you have to make sure that you are using appropriate data processing and analytics techniques. The processing pipelines, whether you're using Apache Spark or Flink, those pipelines needs to be understood and needs to be properly designed. You have to have rule-based detection algorithms, that how will you detect an incident, how will you make sure that this is a false positive versus a normal incident, so this, like things like rule-based detection algorithms would help you anomaly detection models using unsupervised learning, example isolation forest, autoencoders. Then we have supervised machine learning models, for malware detection, phishing emails. We can have NLPs for analyzing textual data in logs for threat intelligence. So we have different solutions from having the right implementation data processing techniques to use supervised, unsupervised, and NLPs for your machine learning algorithm. This is all would comes in better designing your solution. Okay. Then once we are done with the data processing and analytics part, then the other part comes in, that how would you feed the result into your SIEM platform, whether we need to use any plugins of SIEM or not. Splunk has its own plugins. So think about all those measures, that how will you uh, ship your data from your data lakes platform towards your SIEM and the SOAR platform. Then establish data governance. Who is the data owners? What are their roles? How much the sensitive data is. What is the regulation behind the sensitive data in your jurisdiction? What security controls that you are having to secure those data sets. So think about all those measures in the data governance model. Then once you have that established, then you'll be working to form some dashboards, that once we have those data insights coming in, how I need to present those dashboards, what we can use either Tableau or any other Elk stack maybe. So there's something which you can think of, that how you want to uh, you know have a dashboard for you, and how will you do the reporting. And lastly, make sure that you are continuously optimizing your platform, whether it's a data source or data lake or your backend platforms. Think about if there's any new solutions tools available in the market, what problems you are facing, and try to do an audit regularly so that you can optimize your solution. I know that's a bit of that's a bit technical for this, but it is important to understand all this when you talk about data fabric, because there are like lots of solutions available in the market, and there is always understanding that data fabric will solve all your problems. But in order to understand those problems, what those problems are, you have to first think about the different pieces that the data fabric brings to the table. That would give you a good understanding to whether you have to use this or not. Okay. Moving forward, just this is an example of one of the data fabric solution. I have chosen IBM's Cloud Park, which is one of the key leading players of the industry. So you can think about the architecture from the use cases perspective, about what we have just talked in the previous slide about data integration, data governance part, AI governance, what the capabilities of the platform looks like, how it will visualize the data replication, what ELT stack it is using, the machine learning pipelines, data observability, then where the data is being going out, if it's a cloud platform or a private platform, what sources are there, so there are different components involved in the architecture. So as you go through different options here, whether you're using IBM, like Microsoft, Cisco, SecureX. I'm sorry for the formatting of the slide, but just to give you an idea that we have different solutions available in the market. And before you choose any of them, try to see what is your criteria, what is the use case you're trying to solve, as well as uh, what is your team capabilities looks like in order to use this solution. So this is one of the steps that you need to consider when evaluating like such solutions. So I really like your DataB, which is from Comcast, and they are doing amazing job. So do check out their DataB platform. It is will give you all what you need. Okay. Uh, Lastly, I just want to conclude here by saying that data fabric is transforming the way we protect and manage data. making our digital experience safer and more reliable. So uh, there are different digital transformation tools available now, and there are technologies keep on evolving. There are new emerging technologies coming in, and the data size is keep on increasing. So uh, it's better to pay uh, XX dollars uh, more and try to get a data fabric solution now than to spend like 10x or 20x more without having a data fabric solution. And this would not only just the cost part, but it will also strengthen your cybersecurity posture and controls inside your organization. So you'll be uh, better equipped in handling and responding to the threats. Thank you so much. I hope that you have enjoyed the presentation. uh,
So, Taha, I have another question for you.
yeah.
How do you think a data fabric approach improves threat detection and response times compared to the conventional security architectures that are already in use?
So what I have seen in my experience is the the false positives, the threat responses, the threat detection capabilities. It enhances from 30 to 40% as a minimum. Okay, with having a data fabric solution versus not having a data fabric solution, and plus uh, you can have a better visibility about on your platform that where the data has been coming from, what you need to do with those data, and with that you'll get an understanding about your threat vectors, that where your threat vectors are. So from the threat detection and resolution perspective, you can think about, you can say on average 20 to 30% you will see some improvement. And in terms of understanding your threat landscape, that would give you adopt uh, security controls where it matters, and try to build that like bread, and would help you building a zero trust security posture around your whole architecture. This is an important thing which will help organization in in tuning their cyber security posture. So this is, yeah, something I need to add.
Right, thank you. Also, can you discuss some real world examples or any case studies where organizations have already successfully implemented a cyber security data fabric?
Yeah. So one of the organizations or the industries I know range from financial institutions to the healthcare industry to telecom industry as well. So some of the solution that we discussed earlier have their solution tailor made for the telecom industry. Some of them target enterprises, the IT big enterprises, but what I have seen is the use cases are in trying to meet the regulatory compliances. If it's a GDPR compliance or a PCI DSS compliance or a HIPAA compliance, depending upon which industry you belongs to. And the other use case is it has enhanced the the security response times, of identifying a threat to actually resolving it. So this whole life cycle that comes with when you get an incident, you know the time has reduced significantly. So this is some of the use cases which you can get by having a data fabric solution. Yeah.
Thank you, Taha.
You're welcome. If you have any other questions, please do ask me. But I would encourage you to follow our page. We'll be starting up with our newsletters that would be sent to all our followers and registered participants, and we'll be coming up with every week. We'll be coming up with some new webinar topics. We are also inviting other guests to come in to our platform, give webinars for the pressing cybersecurity topics in the industry. And we'll be also doing some podcasts as well to share the experience of our guests, of our industry experts, like how they have reached the journey, to reach to the position where they are currently at. So I'll encourage you to follow us on social media, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I wish you all the best. Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and participating in our webinar. We hope you find the presentation and discussions insightful and valuable. If you have any further questions or need more information, please feel free to reach out to us at Security Pulse. Your feedback is invaluable to us, so please take a moment to complete the post webinar survey. This will help us to continue to improve and deliver content that meets your needs and interests. Thank you once again for joining us. Stay safe, stay informed, and have a great day.